Today, we're going to talk about how drums create sound. Drums are some of the most important instruments in music. They're responsible for keeping the rhythm of the entire band, and if they're off by a little bit, it can throw the entire band off. Even though they're so important, the drums are a fairly simple instrument, which explains why they're one of mankind's first instrument inventions ever. Drums date back to 6000 BC from the Mesopotamian era. Since then, the basics of drums have not changed. Drums are still made of membranes that are stretched over a base. But how does a simple instrument like this create sounds at all? That's what we'll be answering today. As I said before, drums are constructed with a hollow base and a membrane that is stretched tightly around it. When this skin is struck by a drumstick or a mallet, the skin vibrates. This makes the air particles inside and around the drums vibrate too. These vibrations create sound waves in the air. These sound waves then hit our eardrums. Our eardrums work a lot like drums, hence the name. When these sound waves hit the eardrums, the vibrations are then processed in the brain through the malleus, incus, and stapes. We can demonstrate how the drum creates these sound waves by putting some paper on a drum. When the drum is struck, you can see how the paper jumps. This simulates how the air particles move as a result of the drum being struck. Before we talk about the factors that affect the drums, we have to talk about the factors that affect how sound waves sound. Sound waves with a higher frequency will have a higher pitch, and sound waves with a higher amplitude will have a higher volume. There are a lot of factors that can affect how drums sound. It's why one tom-tom sounds different than another one, even though they're the same instrument. Depth is one of the factors that can change the sound of a drum. In a larger drum, there is more air present. The more air that vibrates in a drum, the more vibrations and thus higher volume will be created. The fundamental frequency of a drum is also decreased when the depth is increased. The fundamental frequency of a drum is the lowest pitch that a drum can produce. The fundamental frequency can be represented by the equation frequency equals velocity of sound divided by 4 times the length of the tube. According to this equation, the longer the length of the pipe is, the lower the fundamental frequency is. The lower the frequency of the sound wave created, the lower the pitch is. The larger the diameter of the drum is, the longer it takes for the skin to vibrate back and forth. This creates much larger and slower sound waves which have a lower pitch. The tighter the skin of a drum is, the lower the amplitude and the higher the frequency of the sound waves produced are. A tighter skin creates a much smaller vibration in the drum, so the sound will be a higher pitch and a lower volume. This is how a drum is tuned in order to ensure that it sounds correct. By tightening or loosening the skin, you can change the sound of your drum to what you desire. The last topic we're going to talk about today is overtones. Overtones are the sounds we don't want to produce, but we do, due to the nature of drums. The overtones of the drums are the extra frequencies that are produced by the drums due to harmonic motion and the waves vibrating in a drum. The frequencies of these waves are multiples of the fundamental frequencies in other instruments, but not the drums. This is because the vibration produced by the drumsticks or mallets can move anywhere on a two-dimensional drum head, whereas on a stringed instrument, there is only one path it can take on a one-dimensional string. If an overtone is a multiple of the fundamental frequency, then our ears perceive it to be the same note. That is why overtones are okay in other instruments, because they don't stand out. But because these frequencies are not multiples of the fundamental frequency on drums, it is not a sound we want to produce, as they can sound harsh and too strong. These overtones can be dampened by tuning a drum properly. Thanks for watching my presentation. If you did learn something, good for you. If you didn't, here are some photos of my ugly cat to make you feel better.